Hi, I'm Brent Phillips, and welcome to day one of our Awakening Dynamics VIP Club special event, Overcoming Anger. We're going to start off by talking about what anger is in terms of the underlying emotions and energy. And of course, we've all experienced different kinds of anger. In fact, we have many different words for anger, which indicates that anger is of great importance to us humans living on Earth. It's kind of like how the Eskimos have dozens of different words for snow, which indicates that snow is extremely important to them and their day-to-day lives. And so I'll point out that at least in English, we have literally dozens of different words for different kinds of anger, which means it must be really important, right? Some examples: acrimony, animosity, annoyance, antagonism, blow-up, catfit, chagrin, choler, conniption, dander, disapprobation, displeasure, distemper, enmity, exasperation, fury, gall, hatred, hissy fit, huff, ill humor, ill temper, impatience, indignation, infuriation, irascibility, irritability, irritation, mad, miffed, outraged, passion, peevishness, petulance, piqued, rage, rankling, resentment, slow burn, soreness, stew, storm, tantrum, temper, tiff, umbrage, vexation, violence. So that's just a handful that I could track down by looking at a couple online resources. The point is, anger is really important to us. However, anger isn't what we think. Anger isn't as real as we expect. Anger is really a facade, a cover, that sits on top of a totally different emotion, which is fear. And yeah, that's right. Anger is simply one way that fear projects itself into our day-to-day lives. So ultimately, anger is fear. And if you dig deep into the fundamental nature of human emotions, you'll find that we really only have two core emotions, which you might call positive and negative. Some would call it love and fear. All the positive emotions, joy, grace, happiness, excitement, ecstasy, etc., are simply different flavors or versions or twists of love or positive emotion. Similarly, all the negative emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, resentment, etc., are simply different flavors, versions, variations on fear, the core negative emotion. And so, if I were to try to describe these core emotions, I would define them as follows. Love is the energy of unity, expansion, connection, abundance, and growth. Fear is the energy of separation, contraction, disconnection, scarcity, and decay. So they're polarities, polar opposites that create each other. Let's look at a common example of anger and show you how to find the fear underneath. And so just about all of us who live in the modern Western world have experienced either personally or seen others engage in some form of road rage. We get angry at other drivers, usually because they do something stupid. So let's say you're driving along on the road and some maniac driver turns right in front of you, slams on his brakes, almost causes a wreck. Also, he can get to where he's going 2 seconds sooner. That forces you to take emergency action to avoid an accident. And so when something like this happens, it's totally natural and normal to get angry. But I want to point out that what you're feeling isn't the core. Instead, what lies underneath that anger is fear. It could be a complex set of fears, including, but not limited to, first, fear of not getting to where you want to go on time. Next, the fear of being injured or killed, either for you and or your passengers and the other people or bystanders. There's the fear of damage to your car and or the cargo, your passengers, what you're carrying. There's a fear of being disrespected, and this is a lot bigger than a lot of us might think. And so what you'll find is if you take any instance of anger and you dig to the core, you'll find fear. When you can dig to the core of the fears, the anger tends to dissipate. And so notice that these fears I listed, all of them in this example correlate to some kind of scarcity or poverty consciousness. As an example, if you truly believed in an abundance of time, you wouldn't be afraid of being a little bit late, of being slowed down. If you truly believed in an abundance of money, you wouldn't be afraid of having your car damaged and having to pay to get it fixed. And so we're going to focus specifically in this series on anger. But I'll just point out that this same principle is true of all the so-called negative emotions. As an example, let's take jealousy. Specifically, let's say you're jealous of a coworker that starts dating the person that you're really attracted to. So another negative emotion, jealousy. Well, if we look underneath, we'll find fears. In this case, it may be the fear that you'll never find love, the fear that you'll always be alone, the fear that you'll never be good enough to attract the kind of mate or partner that is desirable to you. So it's all fear. And as we talked about with anger and the road rage example, many of these fears are based on the underlying scarcity or poverty consciousness. And so the point is, whatever the surface negative emotion, identify the fears underneath, and the negative stuff disappears. Slowly, you'll start living in more gratitude and appreciation. That in this example, two other humans have found happiness together. And with the knowingness that you'll find your partner who's the right person at the right time. And if you really understand the law of attraction, you'll also know that this way of living and thinking with gratitude and appreciation actually greatly increases your chances of finding the right kind of love in your own life. So that's just an example of how to dig on jealousy to find fear. And so the process by which we identify and dig to the bottom of the fears, we're not going to explore here, because I covered that in depth in another VIP Club event called Transcending Fear. So we released that earlier, and so if you probably already have it. It's also something I cover in the Awakening Dynamics Level 1 class, and we go deep into it in the Level 3 class. And so you can use those resources to find out how to dig on the fear and get rid of it. And trust me, I can pretty well guarantee that for all the negative emotions, including anger, you look under the surface, you'll find fear. You get to the core of those fears, and the negative emotion will start to dissipate. And that is how we're going to be overcoming anger. That's all I have to say for right now. I'm Brent Phillips, and I'll be back soon for day 2 of our special event, Overcoming Anger. Until then, take care.